Hey there, welcome to Grandparenting A to Z. We are going to talk today about knowing when to ask for help and accept it as you age. Now, this is not an easy topic for most of us, especially if we've been independent and had careers, done a lot of things on our own. It can be really difficult to ask for help, and it symbolizes losing some independence. And that, I know for me, that's a hard thing to admit. I grew up being taught, work hard, do things for yourself, learn things, and be independent. And then as I get older and a few things start kind of slipping, and we'll talk about those more in a minute, but as that happens, there's that kind of sense of frustration, of worry about how certain things will get done in our lives. And I know we can take good care of ourselves, and that's all a given in this discussion. But the reality is that as most of us age, we lose the ability to do certain things, or they've just simply become dangerous to us. And so we want to think about that and prepare for it mentally and emotionally. So what are some of the considerations that we want to think about in this process? First of all is just the simple when. Sometimes we need to be mindful that we have crossed a line and we do need some help. And it may be on one simple task, or it may be in many ways. We're the only ones who can truly define that. Now, unfortunately, if we let it go too long, sometimes that gets defined for us by others. It can be that we, have car accidents and they take away our driver's license. That can become an issue. But it's more the simple tasks that tend to get us into trouble. So think about the things you're doing on a day-to-day basis, and if you need some help, don't feel like it's a sign of weakness or a showing of lack of independence to just ask for the right kind of help. Then we need to communicate with our children and grandchildren. Now, this can be hard. We're used to being the matriarch or the patriarch of the family. We want to appear strong, and it's hard to admit, I need some help doing something. We just need to bite our tongues and get over it. That is hard, but that's a truth. Sometimes we need help. I have started asking for help with certain things because I simply can't do them like I used to be able to do them. And here's a reality. Many times our children and our grandchildren want to help us where they can. They see we're aging, and they may feel just as uncomfortable talking about it with us as we feel bringing it up with them, but maybe they want to help us out a little bit. And if we can have that conversation early, frequently, and then allow them to step in where they're able. I'm in a moving process right now, and my grandchildren, who are a little older, are loving stopping by after school once in a while to help me take a small load up to the new house. That's great. It helps me hugely, and they're cheerful and strong and lickety-split. There's a load in the back of the truck. So it turns out great for both parties. I enjoy getting to spend a little time with them. They're helping take a burden off of me, and it's time well spent together. And that brings us to receiving help. One of the hardest things for many human beings is to receive compliments, gifts, help, you name it. Sometimes we just have a really hard time receiving, especially if we're a giver in the first place. If we have a generous spirit and a kind heart and we like helping others, it's especially hard sometimes to receive that help for ourselves. But now's the time to open your heart and mind to receiving a little bit and realizing you're actually, if you're not taking advantage of them, you're giving a gift to your family members who want to give something back to you. Okay, so receive it with grace, with love, and with kindness. And then remember, when someone is trying to help, they're not the enemy. They're not a person you want to fight against. You know, if they've offered and we can graciously receive their help, it sets a tone and a mood for the family to work together as the generations in the transition between, you know, the early young healthy years and the elder more infirm or difficult years. This is when family values show up, folks. This is when you see what you've taught your children, what they're teaching your grandchildren, and how you work together. You know, is there true love or is there disconnect? Is there trust? And is there concern? You know, all of those things start to play a role, and you see how your elder years can be truly blessed as you see your family, your children who are demonstrating now what you taught them when they were younger. And that is a wonderful thing to see. So grace and respect in this process. Those are the two of the other family values that we need to see demonstrated during this time. And it's difficult for everybody. Let's just remember that in the process. You know, your children may feel uncomfortable, you may feel uncomfortable, but if we can work together, it will be a help to us as we age, and it will be a blessing to them as another generation learns how to be a blessing to their elders. That's a good thing, and we aren't seeing a lot of that sometimes these days. So here's what's happening in my world as far as how this is demonstrating itself. We have had multiple moves in the last few years in a transition that has taken, you know, several years and, like I said, multiple moves. Donna is very tired of moving. But in one of those moves, I really tweaked my back pretty good. And it has continued to affect me. At that time, it caused a need for some physical therapy and several months of, you know, kind of recouping and re-strengthening my back. But what I've noticed is there's a certain movement now, and it's the movement of bending and twisting as I pick up boxes. Man, if I am not careful, I just tweak it right back and I end up stiff for a few days. So I have had to be more careful in what I do for myself, but I have had to ask for help. I mentioned my grandchildren showing up and helping move boxes. I've also become much more reliant on hiring moving crews. I used to think, well, I can do all that myself. We can pack the truck and save some money. And now it's like, let's spend the money, get the help we need, and save my back. Because once I get moved in, I need to put all that stuff away, and I can't be laid up for 6 weeks. So it's hard for me to admit I'm not as strong as I was. It's hard for me to call my kids and say, you know, can you bring your kids over and help me out today? Can we get a load up to the house? You know, those small oddball things that you don't want to pack up in boxes. But I'm doing it. And I'm actually delighting in the moments I've had with some grandchildren lately helping me. It's a nice way for the generations to help and to teach. So think about your own life. Think about what you're able to do, what you're not able to do. You know what? I'm going to give you one more example, and I bet some of you are struggling with this one too. Before we wrap up here, okay? Something came to mind. Another thing I've had struggles with as I'm getting older is the whole glasses thing. How many of you wear progressive lens glasses? How many of you used to paint rooms in your house all the time? And have you noticed you can't paint up around the ceiling anymore? Not only is it difficult with the ladder thing and you're worried about your balance, but now I can't paint with my glasses on to save my soul. I can't see well enough. I can't hit the right level of where I have the good vision to do a straight line along the ceiling edge. And so painting is another thing that is becoming very quickly something I hire and ask someone else to do for me. And it's because of my vision. Oh, these are interesting times to age, folks. So don't be afraid to ask for help. Let your pride down and let the generations help one another. Teach them. Be grand, my friends.